In this bite, we ask Coach Raymond the big question of all questions that everyone gets when they think about going carnivore. What about cholesterol? Am I going to have a heart attack from eating all of this meat and all of this fat? What about cholesterol, Raymond?
Great question. Love that. I get that question a lot. What about cholesterol? So, with the carnivore diet, cholesterol, let's back up a little bit. So, because cholesterol is very important for the body's function. Cholesterol is used out there to repair tissues and help the body with testosterone, turning your sunlight into the proper usable vitamin D, carrying vitamins. It does a lot of myriad things, handles your hormones. Cholesterol is hugely important. So, what about cholesterol is really the question. Now, modern science has stated through the incorrect lipid hypothesis that cholesterol, having too much of it, can be a danger to our clogging our arteries. But I think that's a misjudgment of the science on this. What happens is cholesterol is like a little fire truck. First of all, there's two types of cholesterol. There's the LDL, which, if you imagine, that's the fire truck going out, what they consider the bad cholesterol. And then there's the HDL. The HDL is where, let's say, in the fire station, there's a bell that recalls the fire trucks in. So that would be the fire trucks coming back home would be the HDL. So they consider that good because it's no longer traveling all throughout your arteries. Now, because there are sometimes fire trucks will break down along the road to trying to get to damaged parts. And when it breaks down on that road, let's say you have a poorly maintained road because your insulin is very high, blood sugar is very high. So the roads traveled through your veins are rocky and treacherous for these fire trucks to travel. Sure, it will crash and burn there, and then other fire trucks will try to put out that fire, and then there will be others that will try to put out that fire, which causes inflammation, which theoretically can lead to problems. So now, is it the fire trucks that are the problem, or is it the roadway that's the problem? That's what we need to ask for ourselves. If it's a roadway, there's a way to fix that. We lower our insulin, we lower our glucose by going on a carnivore diet. That will actually get your cholesterol probably to rise because all of a sudden it has clean roadways. And then more fire trucks are going out and saying, hey, I have all these repairs to happen. So within your first introductory stage of carnivore, your adaptation, your cholesterol levels will go up because it has a lot of repairs to do. Saying that, your recall, where the HDL, the good cholesterol, will also go up because now it can actually call back the fire trucks also to come back to the liver because there's nothing holding it back anymore. So now you have a cleaner pathway going back and forth. So that's my say on cholesterol. It is not dangerous. It is very needed for your body, very needed for your brain, and many, many other functions. You want your cholesterol to do what it does best. Your body knows, not the numbers.
Amazing. That was so amazing. And is it true that cholesterol actually prevents cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, and dementia? That it's actually good to have higher cholesterol as we age?
Yes, yes. So according to the Framingham study, the higher the cholesterol, there is a correlation with higher cholesterol and the decrease in dementia and Alzheimer's. And also, the higher the cholesterol also goes into the lower chance of stroke, but not heart attacks for some reason. So, but again, these are debated by the community. The scientific community has been debated for a while because of the lipid hypothesis. There's a lot of incentives for that school of mindset to because that's where they make their money by promoting the low fat and stuff. So they keep that going, and then they don't allow these other people to talk about it. But really and honestly, this is why we see so many effective people getting healed from the carnivore diet. All of a sudden, your roadways are clear. you're finally able to heal and you're getting the cholesterol that you need going throughout your body the way it's supposed to.
Wow. And it makes sense what you're saying, that there's a vested interest like big pharma in having you get prescribed a statin, right?
That's
So
right.
they want to say that cholesterol is bad so they can give you a statin to lower it, right?
That's right. It makes a lot of money, and there's a number established to it. So they say, hey, if your number gets to, well, what is it, over 200 on your total cholesterol, then you should do a low level statin. Well, that's to their benefit. But at a certain time, that was actually lowered from, I think, 350. So they said there's no need for interruption back then when they didn't have statins in. There's no need for interruption unless the cholesterol goes above 350. Then they
Wow.
need to look at it. So they moved that marker down. Also, there's another marker when they started doing the LDL test, because that's a recent find. I think in the past 15 to 20 years, that's when they started measuring LDLs and HDLs, and they started off with LDL is fine at a 150. There's no worry about it. Now they put it down all the way down to 100. They're recommending if you got LDL anything over 100, then you should think about doing statins. It's
Wow.
all marketing gig. It's just, look. It's one of the biggest boom for the pharmaceutical industries. They make so much money off statins. It's not even funny.
Right. And people have to be on it permanently according to them. So it's an
That's correct.
entire, adult lifetime that they're getting paid. So well, you mentioned like having cholesterol is good. And I
Yes.
know that there's an initial spike a lot of times when people switch to carnivore, because as you're saying, the fire trucks are still trying to retool what they're doing. So is it true that longer term carnivores, their cholesterol does kind of normalize or come down and stabilize over time?
Yeah. Some do, like me. It does. So what I think is happening is initially it takes a chance to go ahead and try to repair what it can. Now some don't. Some stay very high. They don't notice any negative parts on that. Um, we don't quite understand everything of what the body's doing, and there are people like Dave Feldman and Ivor Cummings that study this stuff intently. And this is not my area of expertise nor curiosity too much. I just know of it. And if you're curious about that, I totally encourage you guys to look at that data.
Okay, well, we can include that information in the bite notes. Um, I also wanted to ask you, so like in my case, I've been carnivore for, over 20 months now, and I've never gotten my numbers done because quite frankly, I feel phenomenal. And so do I even need to get my test done? Is that important to do, to track or to know?
Great question. And I think out of curiosity, if you wanted to do it, there's nothing wrong with that. But really, the reason that a lot of people want to track their numbers is because they don't feel healthy. The healthier I started getting, the less curious I was about any numbers. I couldn't care less about my numbers if I feel this healthy. It's like, what's the point? What's that going to get out of me? What am I getting for it? If anything, that may even get you some negative doubts, because let's say you have one of the worst numbers, but you feel great. You feel the best in your life. What would you change? Sometimes you might change things for the negative. All of a sudden, you'll listen to this doctor or this nurse saying, "Oh, well, I guess I should do Mediterranean and diet because even though I feel great, my numbers look horrible." To me, is it that much more important for the numbers to look great for you, or is it that you feel and look great? Which is more important for you? If it's the numbers, then I say, sure, follow their advice. If it's how you feel, the numbers don't matter.
Well, and I've shared with you my story of when I got an unfasted cholesterol reading
Yeah.
after I had just had a giant cup of buttered coffee. And like I told you, the nurse was super alarmed. She said, "I've never seen a number this high, and you might need to go to the emergency room." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? I feel fantastic." So I got to the point, and you and I have talked about this, that no matter what any test or any number or any doctor told me, I will never change, because like we've talked about, the look of health, the feel of health, when you're healthy, you know it. And as you said, you don't care about your numbers. I mean, and in fact, the numbers and the tests that are done are actually flawed in themselves. We don't even know
Yeah.
whether they're looking at the right things, as you've alluded to earlier. So, what about if I have a vegan doctor, and like I said, I haven't had my cholesterol tested, but what about when you go and you do your routine checks and your doctor goes, "Oh my God, your cholesterol is so high, you need to be on a statin." What do you do then?
I I prefer the path of least confrontation. Let them talk, let them say their thing, because they're not here to listen to you. You're here to listen to them, and that's how they look at it. Stroke their ego, say, "Yeah, doc, you're right. Go ahead and give me your prescription." They'll hand you out a prescription. That's up to you whether you want to fill it and take it. And that ends there. That's the way I see it. There's no need to argue about it. You're not. Try not. I know, as a vegan evangelic, we kind of become that. I mean, carnivore evangelical. We don't want to be that guy. Okay, not like the vegans. We don't want to. First thing that comes on our mouth is, "Hey, I'm vegan." Uh, we. I like to see it as, we just want to. We just want their help, their expertise, but we don't have to follow their advice if we think it's flawed.
Great, great answer. And I think this bite was incredibly powerful about the cholesterol question, because when I've spoken to other people about doing carnivore, that is the primary barrier, right? People will say, I'll tell someone about carnivore, and I say eat ribeyes all day, every day. And they go, I love me some ribeye, but what about cholesterol?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what stops them. So thank you for this really important and well articulated bite, Coach Raymond.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
Janice.
next time.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.